Hey everybody, this is Matt with mathsmath.com. Thanks for joining us here today as we check out systems of linear equations and what they are. We're in the Common Core Math Standard of Functions, and we're going to define, evaluate, and compare functions today, especially a system of linear functions. All right? Our guiding question is basically, how can you solve a system of linear equations? What on earth is a system of linear equations? Now let's talk about it. Well, this is an example of business. You can imagine owning your own business, maybe like a bed and breakfast, and you would then have to think about, hey, how much does it cost versus how much are we bringing in profit-wise? We want to compare the two, and if we do compare the two and we talk about where we break even after a certain time in the future, that is the break-even point, and that's really comparing a system of linear equations. So really what it is, it's more than one linear equation. Okay? When you put your costs and your profits together until you break even, and when you start making money, that's so helpful. That's the helpful kind of math that you'll use all the time in the business world. Well, a system of linear equations, let's talk about what actually it is. Okay, it's just more than one linear equation combined together on one graph. Okay, it's got to be on one graph. Otherwise, you're not going to really be able to see it. This is called a solution to the system of linear equations. Where they meet is the answer, that coordinate point. So that answer here is 2, 2, or 1 rather, 2 over 1 up 2. The answer to this system, the solution, is 1, 2. This is what you're going to be finding today, is whether you're going to be graphing it, putting it on a graph, and finding where the lines intersect to find that solution of a system of linear equations. Because if you think about it, at that particular point where those coordinates are, that's where both equations equal the same exact point. All right, so when we talk about owning a business, we call when you make as much money as you're spending at that particular point the break-even point. When am I breaking even? That's the idea, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Think about it this way. If I spend $500 to get a business going and it costs me $10 a day to keep it running, what does that equation look like? Well, first we got to write two equations. I spend $500 to get a business going, and then it costs me $10 a day to keep it running. What does that equation look like? Versus this equation. If I bring in $60 per day with business, what does that equation look like? Here, these are your costs, whereas here, this is your profit, $60 per day. We're comparing days here and days here. Remember, the units have got to be the same if you want to compare it right. So we're going to write two equations with these situations. And we're going to fill in the table below for each, and we're going to find that break-even point. So if you think about it here, our equation for cost is we spend $500 and then it's $10 per day, 500 plus 10x. Whereas the revenue that we're bringing in, the R, is 60 times that day. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that 1, plug it into the equation, and see what it spits out for the cost. Take that 1, plug it in for the revenue, and see how much you'd be bringing in for the first day. Okay, so that's the idea. You're going to be filling out this whole chart. All right. Notice that when you fill it out, the C, that stands for the cost of operating your business, whereas R stands for the revenue or the profit you're bringing in, okay? The amount of money you're bringing in. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to graph these lines together on the same graph. So you take the points that you got in this particular section. So when you plugged in 1, you got 510. You plugged in 2, 520, 530, 540, 550, and so forth. And then you plug in 1 there, and it's 60. Plug in 2, that's 120, 180, 240. And then you find where they broke even. Where is that same particular point where they both equal the same Y value, or the C and the R? Should have got something around 10. That means after 10 days, you've spent as much money as you're bringing in. So that's good. That 11th day, you're actually starting to make money. Well, let's do that. Let's put it on a graph, and let's see what happens. Where do they meet? Is it the same point? Okay, it's gonna look something like this. If you take those points, put them on, it's gonna meet at that 10. And so, really, at that point, you are bringing in as much as you're spending. That's a good place to be, because then right after that, you're going to be bringing in more money for yourself. Okay, and all we did was take those points. So the first point was 1, and then 510. Second point was 2, and then 520. And then you got to draw that's one line, and then the other line as well. Be really helpful if you use a different color for the other line there, okay? All right, solving a system of linear equations. Now, there's quite a few different methods to do this. Let's look at some systems and solve them. Well, first method, as we just did, was using a table. No big deal, right? You got these two equations, x minus 5, negative 3x plus 7. Plug in 0, get your point. Plug in 1, get your point. Plug in 2 for both of them, get your point, and see what happens. You have x minus 5, negative 3x plus 7. You plug in 0, and you get negative 5. Plug in 0 here, you get 7. Plug in 1, negative 4, 1, 4, 2, negative 3, 2, 1, 3, negative 2, negative 2. Bam, that's your answer. So at 3 on the x-axis, the y's match up at negative 2. And that's where your equations both equal negative 2. So that's your solution. Your solution point is 3, comma, negative 2, just like a coordinate pair. Right? The next method is just to graph them. Get your equation there, 2x plus 3, negative x plus 6. Put them on the graph. You've got to start at 3 and then go up 2 over 1. Start at 6, go down 1 over 1. And that gives you your point. Okay, so your second method is just graphing. You're going to have to try and pick probably one of these that you're going to like to do over and over again. Now, certain methods will be able to help you in certain times. So don't just say, hey, I want to do method 1 all the time or method 2 all the time. You're going to be able to do one or the other just depending on how you solve the problem. And then the third method is called the algebraic method. We're going to make them equal to each other. So if we have something like this, our first line is y equals x, second line is y equals 3x minus 2. All you got to do is make them equal to each other. So you get x equals 3x minus 2. So let's do that real quick here, okay? All right, so let's do this together. We have y equals x and y equals 3x minus 2. So if we just say x equals 3x minus 2, notice what I did first? I got rid of the y's, and I put x there. I put 3x minus 2 there. So then we're just doing SADMAP, where we're going to move the x over, and then we'll add the 2 to the other side. Bam. So we're going to get 2 equals 2x. So x equals 1 is your answer, okay? So then what you do, once you get that x value, you take it and you plug it back into one of these equations. So I like to pick the easiest one just to save you some time. Yeah, you can plug it into both of them, but it'll give you the same answer. It should, and if it doesn't, then you need to do something differently. So if x is 1, what's y? It's 1. Plug it in here. 1, 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 is also 1, okay? This is called the algebraic method. I would guess that this is the method that you're going to use most often. Here are the steps. Find out that your solution, notice it's a point. Your solution is an ordered pair of negative or of 1, 1. Okay? That's your answer. All right, why don't you find the solution to these using any method? Definitely get some practice doing ones that you're not very comfortable with, but definitely continue to work through these and to see what you get. You're going to get one solution. It's going to be an ordered pair. All right, and this is what you should have got. You should have got that 0, negative 1, and negative 1, negative 1 are your answers. Okay? Don't really care what method you use, as long as you're getting the right answer and as long as you're making sure that you know how to use all the different methods, okay? All right. Well, that's it for today. Can you solve a system of linear equations? Do you know how to solve it now using one of the 3 methods? I bet you do. That was pretty simple, huh? All right. Well, that's it as we talked about systems of linear equations and running your own business and profits and revenues and costs. This was Matt with mathsmath.com. Thanks for joining us. Check us out on Facebook at Solving Maths Problems or on Twitter at Maths Math. And enjoy math and running your own business.